Hello and welcome to Group E as we're headed into the final stretch of the round of 24 of ASL Season 19. In yesterday's Group D, Tier 1 and 2 players Light and Bisu respectively succeeded in advancing to the round of 16. Let's have a word with the 4 players of Group E. Hello, good to have you here. First up, Tier 1 player Queen. Hi. Hi. This season, it's not the opening day for you, it's Group E instead. You will have come sufficiently warmed up. How is your form? I've got butterflies, seeing how it's been a while since I played offline. But I'll try to get a good result. It's been a while since you played offline, and unfortunately, you've had some results in recent times that do not live up to the Queen pedigree. We've not seen you in the group selection since Season 15, which makes me think you'll be as motivated as ever going into today. Yeah, and so in contrast to the days of my championship runs, this time I've gone back to the drawing board. I'm looking to engage with my initial aspirations as a challenger. Queen seems to be as poised as ever, and now we have a new face in the ASL, a Tier 4 player who vows to usher in a new era of StarCraft, the champion of 2023 ASL Season 2. It's Eski. Hello. Hello. Your first time qualifying, your first time on the main stage of ASL. I have a feeling you'll be the most nervous out of the 4 players ahead of your first official game. How are you feeling? I'm not nervous. It's just the interview I'm anxious about. Oh, is that so? Warming up at the studio, you're not anxious about that? It was my first time with noise cancelling. I tried, but it's fine. Your first match is against Queen, who is looking to put the regrets of a slump behind him. How do you feel about the first game? Oh, he's a tremendously good player, and I think it'll be tough. But today, I will channel the spirit of BCM. Oh, the guy who gave Queen nightmares. Queen just gave you 2 sideways glances. Now, seeing how this is your first time in the tournament, many people will be curious as to your playstyle. If you were to introduce yourself briefly, what kind of a player, what kind of a Terran would you say you are? I focus on strategy, I play strategically. A strategic Terran player. Curious to see how you fare today. Let's follow up with Tier 2 player Jaydong. Hello. Hello. You're going into this as a Tier 2 player for the first time since Season 8. I first want to hear how hungry you are for a high placement this season. I would always get knocked out in the round of 24 or the round of 16. So I just want to do well with the tournament that I'm given. I don't have a specific goal in mind. I've been making a lot of mistakes in tournaments. That's something I want to single out to focus on in this tournament. I'm getting the feeling that what you're after is to play games that you yourself can be satisfied with. I hear you wrapped up your stream with a very curt comment. I'll win and come back. How are we to interpret this? Does this mean confidence? Does this mean you are intent on winning today? Rather than talking a lot before the games, I want to prove it with results. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Understood. Can't wait to see what you've come prepared with. Let's now talk to Tier 3 player Stork. Hi. Hi. Right from the get-go, you are in a group with 2 strong Zergs in the round of 24. How did you feel whenever you first saw this bracket? These 2 Zergs, very good Zergs at that, make this the most difficult group for me personally. But as you play in the ASL and the further you go, it could just be a round of 16 group. It's quite common. So if I want to get a good result, this is the kind of group I need to get through. You have to fight tooth and nail to get a good result. But you had a good showing against tough opponents last season too. And you are someone worth putting one's faith in when it comes to tournaments. So, a lot of people are seeing a high likelihood of you advancing through today. What would you say? I think it might be because the round of 24 is a best of 1 and the opening map is Eclipse. Personally, I'm a little uneasy, but I just emptied my mind coming here. I took a break from playing games out in my head, and I played with a blank slate, and that worked well. Rather than winning, I just want to show a good performance today. Jaydong and Stork are of a similar mind, that they want to remain poised and focus on their own performance. If we expand a little on Group E, let's take a look at the matchup between Queen and Eski. Eski is saying that today he will become BCM. As Queen has in recent times been entangled in battles with amateur Terrans a lot, you had to play BCM in the qualifiers of Season 17. Last season you played against 1127, and this time you're facing Eski as your first game. What's your take on this? How have you analyzed Eski? What differentiates him from the other Terrans? After regrettably losing in that qualifier once, I keep having these tier 4 Terrans, these new players pitted against me. It was the case last season too, but I'm not one to be broken easily. So today I'll try and advance safely. Eski introduced himself as a strategic Terran, so you should have sufficient means of dealing with that. As you all know, I try not to build sunkens, and I try to optimize as well as I can. So as long as he optimizes, he can deal with whatever strategy, says Queen. Having heard that, what do you think, Eski? Oh, I know he doesn't build sunkens. I'll try and take advantage of that. Eski is feeling that regardless of Queen being a former champion, he has weak points. We have another match that can't be skimmed over, is Jaydong going up against Stork. They played a lot of great games during the professional days too. But if we look at their head-to-heads, it has been 2,730 days since they last played in ASL in Season 4. It's been so long you must feel like you're meeting for the first time. Jaydong, how do you feel about Stork going into this game? For starters, I cannot let my guard down at all. You know, I always feel the first match is the scariest. So that's what I'm worried about the most, that's what I practiced for the most. And so, please don't make any mistakes today, is what I'm thinking to myself. We talked to Stork a moment ago, and I got the feeling he sees the first match against Jaydong as quite burdensome. You guys are getting to play once again after such a long time. What's your take on this? Jaydong plays really well. I'm honest in saying that I just came here with an empty mind. Rather than thinking about who my opponent is, I focused on the game. I focused on Zerg being my opponent. It'll be nice if I can get a good result. The players remain poised on one hand as clouds of war hang over them. So far, in the round of 24 of ASL 19, we have not had a Zerg player advance. This will surely put pressure on our two Zergs today. Let's hear what Queen has to say about this first. We're talking about the round of 16, so however you look at it, in the round of 24, some players need to get filtered out. I don't think I'm in that crowd, so I came here thinking I'm surely going to advance. And Jaydong, you surely must want to be a Zerg survivor here as well. Honestly, I feel Zerg is kind of weak in best of one. In best of one, right? Yeah, and so that's the case with Queen too. A lot of mishaps have happened. That's how I feel. Anyway, as we move on to the round of 16, I think it's really just the skilled players that make it in. Live by the sword, die by the sword. And I personally think of the round of 24 as an extension of the qualifiers. The real start is the round of 16. So I know I absolutely need to make it through the round of 24. The burden the Zergs are feeling is apparent, given the many variables at play in the best of one of the round of 24. As we wonder what results Group E holds for us, let's close things out with final words of Resolution Queen. I'll work hard to be the first Zerg advancing out of the round of 24. Can't wait. Eski? I will tackle this with sincerity. Good. Jaydong? I'll show you how well I practiced. Looking forward to it. Stork? I'll do my best and get a good result. Looking forward to great games from the four of you. Thanks for the interview. We don't have that many seats left in the round of 16, so let's kick things off in Group E to see which two players will stay alive.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the ASL Season 19, Round of 24, Group E. Today we've got a couple of old school legends, Tastosis, along with a very, very new face here to the ASL.
That's right. It's Skey's first season. I think that he does have some potential in the group, but obviously the three other players in here are absolute killers. I do expect the kind of obvious double Zerg advancement. Queen is in great shape. Jaydong's in very good shape, and in fact was the third best Zerg last season. So I think that they're pretty clearly cut as the favorites. But again, we're in best of one. Who knows?
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, things can go sideways in a best of one very quickly. Stork being one of the most legendary StarCraft 1, I guess you could say pre-StarCraft 2 players in all of StarCraft, has not managed to really perform in the way that I think a lot of the other players had hoped he would, like players like Bisu, or even players like Jaydong, who we were saying seconds ago would probably advance. Stork seems to be always consistent enough to make it into the ASL, never consistent enough to get deep, or maybe never strong enough, I should say. Yeah. He's consistently not made it deep, in fact.
That is true, but I think he's in good shape. I really like his games. I like his play. Overall, I think he plays a really strong PvT still. I mean, the guy has kids too, you know. He's got some of these other things going on that Bisu, Flash, Jaydong don't really have going on. And honestly, with that group, he was the fourth fiddle, so you would expect him to underperform them a little bit when, you know, even at their maximum skills, they were a bit different. But yeah, that's our group here today. And it's a good one. I'm excited to hopefully here get some Zergs out. Now, only Sulkies in the next round so far, and I do think we're going to get at least 3 more Zergs out, but that's still going to be kind of a light Zerg lineup in the next round.
Yeah, and, you know, with Queen and Jaydong, I'll just say it. I mean, I think they are not anywhere near as robust as some of the Protosses and Terrans that we already have in the round of 16. Like, they could go deep in this, they could not, right? You know, Hero and Action are just around the corner here. Those guys tend to do a little bit better, at least in the modern era, as far as what we expect from Zergs. But let's see what happens today. Even the days where we have the 2 players that we expect to get out, the games have been really interesting. There's been a lot of drama. We've had some epic fails, which we almost never really have in an ASL. You know, almost all the games are top tier and kind of incredible, but we had... I guess the biggest fail of this season so far was Bisu forgetting Storm, and in the same day making 2 Templar Archives. It probably would have been as equally bad of a fail had he not canceled one at the last second. But, you know, we've had some wild games, even when the scores are what we expect, and who advances are, you know, what we expect. The games have been very exciting.
Indeed, indeed. I guess there haven't really been that many big upsets or anything so far this season, but definitely some upsetting games. Well, I love that Queen uses a Queen song. Like, do you think that he named himself, because his name used to be Zero with capital Z and capital O, which I think is a pretty cool name. But do you think he switched his name to Queen for the band, for the chess piece, or for the StarCraft unit?
Or for the
monarch,
female leader of the monarchy? Is that the matriarch? I don't know, Tastosis.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I've always thought it was just for the unit. But, Yeah, I mean, has he ever been asked that, actually? You know, a lot of the Brood War pros, like, did not put a lot of thought or interest into their IDs. It's a weird thing with the StarCraft 1 players and some of the early Korean StarCraft 2 players. They never put a lot of thought into their IDs.
Dude,
in fact, if you ask a lot of them, it was
one of the craziest versions of that, where it's like, he was one of the most legendary players ever. Why'd you name yourself Nestea? He's like, oh, there was a Nestea on my desk when I logged into Battle.net the first time. And it's like, what? You're world famous.
Crazy. Yeah. Now you're repping some random brand you're not even that enthusiastic for. It's not even your favorite drink. I remember meeting with Null Ra, and I asked him, I'm like, so you got your name from the Egyptian god, right? You know, because the Protoss base looks like a pyramid. And he went, what? He goes, no, it's just like a sound. He goes, I'm going to steal that, though. That's a really good idea. Like, I like that. I just thought, oh, my God, never meet your heroes, man.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Anyways, this match today is going to be interesting. Skey here today. We have no idea how he's going to perform. He is definitely going to be in maybe the most important game of his life up to now. As he's going up against one of the strongest players in ASL history, a player who is more than comfortable. He's been here countless times before. The question is, how well can Skey play? He is a great player, by the way, very strong, but, can he deliver his very best game? Because otherwise he's going to the loser's match.
Yeah, I think we're going to butt heads today, Tasteless. Skey is spelled S-K-I. This is Skey.
Skey?
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, this is going to be the Hydra thing all over again. All right, guys, we're going into game one. Yeah, before we even started the season, I actually thought it was Eski. That's how I was reading his name. But I guess this is what happens when you have a player that hasn't been broadcasted a lot. His name hasn't been said a lot out loud. And so you're going to be calling him Skey? I'll just call him Skey Artosis.
Yeah, so like if
you get Terran privileges here, you can say how his name is pronounced.
I even double checked. Basically, because it's not a word, but like if you look up other words that are spelt similarly, like Trey, that's a name. Trey, it's not try.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how you spell try, right? So this is Skey. That's that.
Right.
The thing is, I've actually been casting him for like a year, so I've said Skey so many times at this point that like you could put a gun to my head, Tasteless. I'd be like, pull the trigger. He's Skey forever. It's kind of
like a justification. He might have not named it at all based off how it would be said in English. Artosis also says pneumonia, but with the P sound in the front of it.
Well, actually, Tasteless, when that happened to us in StarCraft 2, I just love the story about Vines. We were casting a guy called Vines, V-I-N-E-S in all caps, and the producer came to us and told us, they're like, his name is Finesse. And I'm like, no, it's not. And they're like,
oh
yeah,
God,
his name is Finesse. This. You have to call him Finesse. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to call him Finesse because his name is Vines. This is an English word, and he spelt it. I'm not making Korean letters go together and telling you have to call him something they're not. His name is Vines. And I just, I remember this so clearly because it was so hilarious. It's like, no, you don't get to decide how we pronounce things with English letters. Just like I don't get to decide. Oh, my God.
Dude, so I'll do a little throwback here. When I first came to Korea and I was doing the GOM TV Avritech Intel Classic, so this is before I was casting with you, Artosis, I did a whole season by myself, and they made me voice the player names for the intro. And I really pushed for the player IDs. I was like, I promise you none of the viewers are going to know this. So they made me say each ID, and when we got to Stork, I said, Stork into the mic, and they were going to play that into the intro. The producer stopped me and he said, it's Stork. And I was like, no, it's not. This is bad. He wouldn't let me do it. He made me record one as Stork and then one as Stork. So if you can find the old video, it's me saying all the players' names, then me, and then one in a kind of racist-sounding Korean accent because they made me say it that way.
Dude, that's so funny. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Stuff like that has happened so many times. It's just like, guys,
yeah, well, especially in the early days.
I'm like, actually an expert.
They were like paying me, and
I'm not an expert on too much, but speaking English, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, this is actually a bird. This is a bird. It's an English word. Oh my God, he gets the deny on that, by the way. We've had a triple hatch here.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm excited.
No, go ahead.
We're having a good convo here and kind of lightly going over
We've
this.
had a lot to say before these games have started.
So a couple things. First off, Wallen from Skey that, Queen started attacking right away with his drone, just kind of being very good with the harassment. In fact, he's going to maybe get he's probably going to get a CV kill. That was actually an excellent juke. This is actually one of the only ways you can get away from high-level worker movement at this point, is to double back on them and make them misclick it and then turn around. But anyways, he loses that, and it's a 3 hatchery on location. So this is like, oh my God, I can't believe Skey's going for a +1. I don't like this from Skey even a little bit. If I don't want to like oversell it, but in my opinion, this is very favored towards Queen right now. Like this type of +1 build, if you do something like this and they're already on 3 base, like if Queen decides to go like an Ultralisk build, like a Crazy Zerg build that I did not invent, or something like that, I could see him getting a huge advantage, because there's no way for Skey to put any actual pressure on here for a really long time. And that means that we're just going to have 3 bases mining for Queen.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like this is, the build itself is going to be able to punish or prevent a 3rd base, because the 3rd base came out so fast. I don't think Zerg knows what the tech is, by the way. There's no Overlord that could have gotten in there and seen this. So he's in the dark. We can see the full picture here. And it doesn't seem like Skey is pushing out with any number of Marines where that could be a real threat, unlike what we had the previous day, where we had Marines actually getting underneath minerals and hitting drones. I feel like this should be a pretty comfortable opening here. We also haven't had this build, I feel like, that often in like the last 2 seasons, for instance. I think we've seen Rush do it a couple times and maybe one other Terran, but
sure,
doesn't seem to be as popular as it was in years before.
I would agree. It was like the only thing people were doing for a bit. A lot of people are back to Academy Rushes now.
Yeah.
But let's see what Skey's plan is. Like he actually moved out with his first medic here. He doesn't have many units, and he's actually already forced a couple sunks. And do I see 2 sunks at the other natural? Okay, I have to take back what I have to take back what I said, because Queen's Overlord saw like 5 Marines and a medic move out, and he just like instantly made the sunks. So that's all you would get with an Academy opener anyways. But like realistically, you can't move across the map with such a small force. But Queen is playing really safe here. I think he's looking at this, and Queen's in very good shape right now, and he's just playing very safe. So Skey has forced the reaction to an Academy rush with an eBay rush, which is really, like, you couldn't be in a better position as far as the opener goes for Skey. This is excellent for him now.
Have you ever wobbled your leg a bunch when you're kind of nervous? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, you've got a lot of excess energy. For a while, I was watching the player cam for Skey. There was whole table was kind of shaking. I was wondering if he was actually. I've seen this a lot with pros. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, Tastosis. But like when they're very nervous, they're like wiggling a knee a whole lot, and sometimes the whole setup's kind of rocking, including the cam.
Yeah, I see that. You're right.
Again, I'm just curious, because like so much of new players' performance kind of comes down to just how comfortable they are. A player like Skey has beaten probably every pro before online, but this is such a different feel, Anyways, the mutas are out. We're going to find out exactly how ready Skey is, because they're inbound. +1 weapons is done. So if Queen overextends at all, he is going to drop mutas.
And I gotta say, this is like, as far as Skey goes, it's a really interesting opener where he's gone 3 racks, not 4, not 5. And he's going into like a very quick Valkyrie rush. So like +1 builds almost always go 4 or 5 racks behind them. The only player until just very recently I've ever seen do that is Mihu. So yeah, a little shout out there to Mihu for actually being the guy that started doing that. But I've seen it a little bit recently from the Korean players. And the fact that he's going for an add-on on his factory as well as Valkyries, like this is likely going to be just a very fast 1-1 Valkyrie tank push like all in. Like he is going to go up and he basically has to kill him.
And I would assume that you will have to go through the natural here.
Yes.
If you're going to do that, no matter what. The second tank's being made. This usually comes out with the third tank, right?
So it's actually, if you go Vessel, it's always a 2-tank push. He could go third tank. The only thing is, if you don't get through the natural before Defiler Consume is done, you're basically dead. Like you have to be able to push in by then. And yeah, I think he did stop at 2 tanks, so I think he's just going to go.
Yeah, he also kept the tanks back. He didn't want to show them just yet. Now, Queen is going to try to sandbag the progress by having sunken colonies. It's very deliberate, by the way, the spacing in between the sunken colonies from left to right. You want to force sieging, unsieging, basically buy as much time as possible. The Defiler Mound is started, so that's a very specific clock in the game. Once Consume's done, and the first Zergling's consumed, and the first Dark Swarm is put down, the rush usually is over. So Terran wants to try to do this as quickly as possible, do as much damage as possible. The question is, can Queen try to hiccup this, slow this down, throw a wrench in the gears of the push itself?
I tell you what, the push looks pretty good here. I think the Guardian tech is really interesting as well that he's gone for that. I love the spread of these Sunkens. Like, he's spread them out so they're not going to take splash damage together. The way he's sharking around in between, he's... Oh, he accidentally slides a Valk forward. Okay, he actually saves it. But, this is really well done by Queen, the way that he's slowing down the reinforcements. He's slowing down the push. That forward Sunken just got a tank. That is, like, everyone makes that mistake as Terran. You see it morphing in and you're attacking the other ones that are finished, and then it kills your tank. That's brutal. Like, it's going to take him so much longer to get through here now.
Yeah, well, I think he might have actually stopped the rush. That forward sunk, like you were saying, Tastosis, it's very deliberate. You're kind of causing a bunch of distractions, and then the sunk pops up, and all it needs to do is get a few shots off on that tank, and it's done. He's going to shuffle the lurkers into the back of the position. There are lurkers in the way to stop reinforcements. Skey, Tastosis immediately moves down. He gets a surround on that, but the lurkers drive away the tank. And there's just too much stuff in the way of the tank push and the hatchery to the point where I think there's no way that he can stop this Defiler Mount. Consume upgrade. He can basically punish his Zerg before the Consume upgrade's done. Skey's going to try to come up here, and this, I don't know how many lurkers are here. A lot of times players will stack them, so it looks like 1, but it's actually 3. But it seems like we're almost nearing the end of this rush if he doesn't get up here right now.
He's got some Guardians here to kind of help out as well. And you have to be careful how close you move, by the way, because the lurkers can move forward and snipe the tanks from high ground. So that could become an issue. But look at this. Now he brings these over, and with only 1 Valkyrie, I feel bad for Skey, because I know he's a really strong player, but Queen is mangling him in this game. Like, Queen has outplayed him at every single turn.
Yeah, I mean, Queen has basically stopped everything that Skey has tried to do. The game will go on, but, ideally Terran would have wanted to finish him off right there. He's switching into 2 more factories. So this is going to be that mech switch where... if I'm reading this correctly, it's going to be vultures with mines covering the map, lots of tanks, and probably Terran going up to 4 bases eventually.
Yeah, I think you're probably right that it will be just like a full mech switch. The thing is, he can't, he lifts off. He can't really go bio here. He's so far behind, like you would never be able to break anything. You don't have a single vessel. I wouldn't mind if he just continually makes Valkyries off of this and tries one of those like Valkyrie mech builds. Those were popular like a couple years ago and haven't really been used since. But I don't think he can. I don't think he has the economy even to try to go Goliaths with tanks. I think you're right. It has to be like vultures, really getting a lot of value, and then tanks kind of being the backbone.
I remember when we first came back to StarCraft, like ASL Season 1 right before that, I remember loading up a game and being like, this will be fun. I'll try to figure the game out again. And then I was playing Zerg, and I saw in the middle of the game, Terrans laying mines everywhere. And I'm like, what is going on? This wasn't like the game I played before. Everything's different now. This is scary. Zerg is going to try to nab this base down here. Terran wants to contest it. I don't know that he can. Keep in mind the Guardians, it's very easy to one-shot these Marines when they're plagued. I think Skey is going to be able to deny the hatchery, but long-term he's not going to stop Zerg from getting this base. So many Guardians are hitting these few remaining Marines. Oh my god, even gets the Vessel. It feels like Queen's position is going to be very strong here. And if Skey is going to win this, it's going to be in a pretty drawn-out game.
I think that's an understatement. I almost feel like if you're going to win from here, the map almost needs to get mined out eventually, and it has to be so many throws from Queen. It's such... you were actually really good to catch that his camera's wiggling. He's definitely, like, bouncing his leg right now. You can tell the nerves are getting him. Again, I've been casting
It's like on his side of the studio, there's a small earthquake happening.
Whereas Queen's is completely, not moving at all. This guy has both won 2 ASLs in a row and lost to an A-rank Terran in the qualifiers. So, the Queen, nothing phases him at this point. But, like, Skey is definitely buckling under the pressure right now.
By the way, when you lose those little groups of infantry, it's really bad during a mech switch. The small amount of infantry basically keeps everything safe, and because Skey lifted off the barracks and is in the full-on transition, he actually doesn't have a lot of anything. So we were talking about, him trying to hold out in the long game. I think Zerg can actually just attack in here. If he just has something to spot the mine. It's like, literally, it looks like a TVP right now, if you didn't see where the Zerg was in the game at all. So I think just with tier 1 units like Lings and Hydras, you might even be able to bust this. Because the Vultures are only good for, laying tons of mines, doing counterattacks, trying to kill workers, and maybe protecting the mines from a couple of Zerglings that would try to set them all off. But we don't have that core medic Marine group that's there to back up these tanks, so this could be a really painful blow here for Skey.
This is like the most weenie attack I've ever seen. He like snuck around the map when he owns the whole thing and attacked with like 7 units. I don't even know. Like, I think Queen is shipping it in right now, but it doesn't matter that much because he's so far ahead. He already has 4 bases. His 5th just popped. He's got like so much tech. He could really do anything. He could mass up ground units and win. He could switch into air units and win. Yeah. He can go Queens and win. The position of Skey is just really, really weak right now.
It does seem like a lot of this comes down to that attack at the bottom right. Long-term, Queen is happy to give up the hatchery to kill off those core units. By the way, we're going to have a Queen ending here. This is going to be probably Broodling upgrades. Although, who knows? He could have some fun. I mean, at this point in time, I think he's so ahead that you could really style on him and do something funny with these Queens. But, chances are it's going to be Broodlings on all the tanks.
I would imagine that you're right. He could Broodling just about anything. I wouldn't mind him just going up and stealing a command center as well. But you can see Skey here is just having such a hard time holding on at all to these little half attacks. Where he's like, here's a part of my army. Can you deal with it? It's almost like he's ramping up in a Protect the Nexus game or something.
Yeah, this is like a small attack in the campaign, like maybe the 2nd or 3rd one where you're trying to build up your stuff. You're like, oh, 9 Hydras. Okay, I barely hold that off.
Yeah. Well,
so Queen is going to probably have both the bottom right soon. I'm talking about both bases. He already has 1, and he probably will get the top left. Yeah, we're just seeing these kind of small numbers of Hydras move out. Not even with Overlords to detect everywhere. I mean, the mines are maybe the only thing that's keeping the Terran kind of safe. But I do feel like this is nearly done. I mean, the attacks aren't fantastic from Queen. In fact, he's kind of trading unfavorably, but I think you get the bigger picture here.
Indeed. Some more mutas have come out at this point. Like, he can... Like, you see what it is as Zerg. A big part of beating Mech as Zerg is kind of shifting your tech around a little bit. Like, for instance, if they lose all their Goliaths or Valkyries or whatever, you can suddenly make some mutas. Or if they lose a lot of tanks, you make a bunch of Hydras, that type of thing. Or you can just kind of outmuscle them. Now, Skey is, like, macroing well. He has, like, okay supply. And the cost efficiency of Mech is pretty good against, like, Hydras. But when the Queens fly in, that's going to be it. Like, that's 7 tanks, 8 tanks gone. He doesn't have enough anti-air really to stop that.
Yeah, for the price of Queen energy. which he'll just send these all back and let him reload and do it all over again. So brutal moment here. Skey is just getting crushed. So many tanks went down there. Again, a small number of Zerg units. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of coordination right now with Queen in these attacks, as some stuff is sitting back there, others are moving in. But that's a lot of tanks that are killed off. Remember that when you're going mech, the easiest way to follow how a mech player is doing is just see how many tanks were killed, because vultures are not going to win this game, right? Tanks are the best mech unit you can get. So when you see tanks falling over and over again, eventually that gas is going to dry up. You're not going to have anything to work with, and all this is going to be gone. The Hydra's now underneath the Dark Swarms, doing a ton of damage, and that's going to be it. GG. Skey taps out. Queen wins. I got to say, by the way, if you covered up the IDs for the Terran, the first, maybe third of that game, first half, I would have believed that was Light or any other great player. He looked really strong. It was when the push started to fall apart, and then his follow-ups after that were very weak, that I think the cracks really started to show.
He had some good ideas for sure. Can't deny that. I think he chose a good build order. He did a great job forcing those sunks out of Queen. But, you know, Queen is actually, in my opinion, one of the guys that might be able to actually win this season other than Sulky. I think Queen is in really good shape right now, so I'm not surprised at this result. And Skey is a great player. Like, maybe he can calm down a little bit and show us a good game in that loser match. But unfortunately, you could definitely tell his nerves were getting him. Losing that tank to a morphing Sunken and stuff like that. He kept losing Valkyries over and over and over. You got to retain those. Hopefully he can sew it up in his match later tonight.
Does feel like a lot of the Terrans are still not great with Valkyrie control.
True.
Guys, coming up next, a blast from the past, Jaydong versus Stork. Welcome back, everybody. This is going to be a fun one. It's going to feel real nostalgic. Casting Jaydong and Stork again. You know, I'm always looking forward to a Stork that might be in a little bit better shape than the previous seasons. He's always been able to win games, but he does seem to be kind of like a solid old school player where even if he's not doing a lot of the modern crazy stuff, he's still pretty good. He can kind of just power his way through things.
Yes.
Jaydong too. Jaydong has stuck with, I guess, build order wise, it's still very new, but a lot of these old ideas, like really sharp timings, really aggressive plays, sometimes, you know, aggression it can always be a double-edged sword, right? If you hit too hard, if you overextend, you've done your opponent's work for them, right? But this will be cool to see how these guys perform and what condition they're in. We do know that Jaydong has been pretty public about really having high ambitions here for ASL.
That's true. That's true. And he wants to keep playing as long as his wrists hold up, which is great to see. And, you know, I've been following him in, like, KCM and stuff like that, and he's been playing really well. He's in good shape. He was the third best Zerg last season. No one can deny that. I think there is some stability issues with his play that some of the very top Zergs don't have. But, you know, he's going up against Stork here, who, by the way, I have to give Stork, like, a lot of props. I love this song from that Pro League opening. That's one of the best Pro League opening, or the OSL openings ever. Now, one thing I want to mention, Tastosis, so, like, basically, there's some rules about ASL nowadays. If you were not a top, or if you were not basically peaking in 2007 or later, you cannot make it into ASL. No one does anymore. The oldest player that makes it into ASL is Stork. He is the oldest player for the last, like, 7 seasons or 8 seasons or something, okay? Like, only a few older players, like Busan and Nada, have made it in, but they don't make it anymore, and they can't make it, and they're not good enough. Piano, I think, was a little bit older than Stork as well. He can't make it in anymore. Stork is the oldest
Stork's
guy that's still doing it.
a couple years older than Bisu, right?
1 or 2. I don't recall. I looked this up, like, a while ago.
Yeah, I remember looking at this. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean,
he is the oldest player making it in.
Generation.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he might have been from the same era as Jaydong and these other guys, but yeah, he is a little bit older. And oh my God, we're about to get into this match on Eclipse. This is going to be so fun. Jaydong really hoping to bring these results. What exactly is Stork going to do? Guys, we're going to find out. This is match number 2 here in Group E. Jaydong versus Stork.
So we have Jaydong there in the top right, and we have Stork in the bottom left. And, you know, Eclipse, you can definitely have some cool plans here. We've seen a lot of people trying to cannon rush. We saw that crazy 2-gate from Bisu. I think Stork will take it pretty normally, because I don't think he has, like, quite the skill set of a Mini or a Bisu in this matchup. Like, this is a matchup that I sometimes worry about Stork performing in.
Yeah, it's been tough for him. Before we get into the builds, guys, we love you. We wouldn't be able to do this without your support. You know, we don't have the backing of Blizzard like we used to, you know, kind of the early StarCraft 2 days all the way through Heart of the Swarm and the start of Legacy of the Void. And, you know, we're really reliant on support from viewers like you. We don't have the same support from Soup either. This is all crowdsourced. So please consider going to patreon.com/ASL English. Sign up. It means the world to us, and you're helping keep the history of the oldest esport alive. We love you.
Thank you very much, guys. You're really the best. All right. Stork actually went around like a really funny direction. I never see people go around that way. But okay, I'm down for it. Looks like an overpool.
I was watching that. I was trying to do our plug, and I'm like, what is he trying to make up there? But yeah, this wasn't a weird runaround with a forge setup either to do kind of like a gotcha cannon rush. Instead, this was just a pylon scout, and basically he would be fine making a late forge. If it was a quick pull, you can get a forge a little bit later and still basically be fine and hold off any kind of rush. But, you know, if it was, let's say, you know, hatchery first or something that was like a later pull, you just do something with a Nexus.
Tasteless, real quick, you know how every Protoss seems to go around that bottom path and kind of sneak up and either fake a cannon rush or try a cannon rush? I wonder if he adjusted there because that's so common that he expects Zerg players to start sending their Overlord on that path.
That's actually a really smart... That's a really smart analysis of this, because, you know, all these little PvZ metas start out, okay, what path does the Overlord take? And a lot of times Protosses will try to go around it. or do something sneaky, especially in maps where it's just 2 spawns, right? But then the Zergs will adjust, and they'll send their overlords on different trajectories to try to catch that or hide where their overlord's going. And so I think that's probably what Stork was doing here, was kind of doing a runaround, but from a different angle, and really keep Jaydong on his toes.
I think so. That seems very reasonable as a little mix-up to do. It is important to change your scouting, just randomize it to a certain degree. Even if it's like slightly suboptimal, you want to occasionally do the slightly suboptimal one, just so no one can hoodwink you otherwise.
In this game, it's all looking very textbook. We've got the gateway finishing. We'll have a core in a second. Zerg is getting to where the fork in the build order goes. Is it going to be the Hydra bust? Are we going to have a layer instead? The layer is always more of the standard play, and it is going to be that layer. So there's no cheesing Stork out, at least not yet in this game.
Yeah, a lot of players do like to just open up with the 3-hatch Hydra and then like transition out of that. But Jaydong here instead opting for that tech. You have any thoughts on why he might do that? Do you think Stork is particularly good at holding Hydra Bus, or is that like too high volatility for Jaydong, whereas he thinks he can outplay him in a longer game, that type of thing?
That's a good question. You know, we've had seasons where Hydra Busts are common, and then there's seasons where they're really common, right?
Those are the only two. It's common and
those
really
are the
common.
two. It's never been uncommon. We're never like, that's crazy. He's going to Hydra Bust. People don't do that anymore.
That's funny and accurate.
My bet is that, you know, in this game, he probably thinks, it might even be because of the position, because you're in the bottom, so you're like trying to, you know, the Forge and Gateway stick out less in these spots than if you're going to have to attack from the right or the left, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for the Zerg, they have to attack from the top down in these spawns. So the cannon actually gets a little bit better covering of the Forge and the Gateway, where if you were to attack a Zerg from the bottom left to the top right, you're attacking from left-right because of the angle that the expansion's at. So that could be one reason why people would do those kinds of rushes. In my experience with talking to good Zergs, it's a lot about, like, you look at the placement, and then you look at kind of the position and the of the opening, the geography around that, and what you can get away with. And, you know, it might have just been as simple as the probe stayed alive right up until layer, and so he wasn't able to make a Hydra Den a little bit earlier.
Okay.
If you can, like, let's say, block the ramp with 2 lings and make a den, like, right when you have 50 gas...
Bit stronger.
Those are very fast Hydras, right? Or if, let's say, you just kill let's say you kill the probe with a moving drone shot. Sometimes that's a great time to do it. And it's also justifiable to say, well, I might be able to spook him into making an extra cannon, and I still go layer, right? This is the poker game that both sides are playing early on. And I think it comes down to style and kind of what you're able to do in that moment. So those are kind of my thoughts around that. In this game, Stork is going for Corsairs. It looks like with Zealots, we didn't really get a shot in the main, but I think we could guess this is probably just a Citadel.
Yeah.
And probably not even like a DT rush, probably just Zealots with speed. Basically, it's kind of like going as Terran, fast command center versus Zerg into an academy and trying to put on some pressure. It's kind of the core build that you expect to see in the matchup.
That's funny. That's a really good point. The +1 in the legs are kind of like Stim, where like you go from Zerglings massacre you to you massacre Zerglings. It's like the whole early game of both the matchups to try to put some pressure on. And it's like you move these out, for instance, and it's not necessarily about killing the base, but, you know, deny some drones, maybe kill some Zerglings. He actually doesn't have +1 yet, so this is a little bit painful. Jaydong with the Speedlings is actually getting a really good trade here against these Zealots.
Yeah, I think it's okay to send some Zealots out to try to spook the Zerg into making. Oh my god, he almost got the surround.
Damn. That is a greased up Zealot there, man.
Yeah.
I thought for sure he was done. Oh, he is. No! Aw. That poor Zealot was running for his life, Tastosis.
Yeah, it's important to not lose too many Zealots. It's hard to get away with over-pressuring, because Speedlings will just chase you down. But he does have +1 done. He does have some Zealots out here. The Scourge do spot the Corsair tech, and it's actually a lot of Corsairs here for Stork. So Stork has never been as good as Bisu with these builds, but he can absolutely hang. He's been extremely strong with them. By the way, Zergs basically don't really die to these timing busts anymore. A lot of times you send the Zealots out, try to do some damage, and then the Corsairs will just obliterate the Overlords. And it's one of the most unique exchanges you can have in StarCraft because it doesn't really look like anything. Like, there's no rush where I just come and kill all your depots, right? And then run out of the base. There's no attack where it's like, well, all your pylons are gone, so you know, now you can't make anything. But it's something that Zerg has to deal with. Bisu was so good at this that, like, Zergs were dying for a long time with this. But I think we tend to see more passive play from Protosses. They basically poke out. They kind of use this to scout. And, you know, from here, we're just probably going to go up to 8 gateways. Because if Zerg doesn't go for mass muta, which he won't in this case because there's already, you know, the Corsairs out, which I think have +1 attack. I'm not sure. You basically just go up to 8 gates and try to get ready for a push. You're getting ready for a fight on the map.
Yeah.
I think it's probably not safe to try to expand too fast until you have an army.
I think especially on Eclipse, where you kind of have this weird open area in between the bases. But actually, back to what you were saying about the, you know, how hard it became for Zerg players with Bisu, like how good he was with the Corsairs and everything. I actually remember watching some matches between Bisu and Jaydong with the Eastro coaches, and they mentioned how, you know, Jaydong specifically was kind of helping to revolutionize how to play against Bisu by getting up to the 5 or 6 hatchery more quickly so he could replace things lost to the harassment better. I always thought that that was kind of a fascinating back and forth between the two.
Yeah, it's in order to have a game that's going to be as hype as StarCraft, you have to have incredible players with each race, right? Because one player solves something, and it's up to the players of the other races to figure out a solution. And it's always, you know, everybody adding another layer of beauty, you know, into the matchup with that. In this game, we have... I like that Stork's doing this. You got to be careful because a lot of times these Zealots do get pinned somewhere. But the idea is that those Zealots can run around and hit a hatchery and blow it up if the Zerg's too map control. But dude,
he has a lot of
Jaydong
potential.
is so good. Jaydong looks like old Jaydong here, man. He's just like catching
Look
stuff
at this,
everywhere.
though.
He's not taking too much damage.
Dude, that's a lot of Zealots hitting this smaller amount of Hydras. Did Jaydong send too many? Oh my god, the Lurker Eggs are so good. But Stork kills a lot of Overlords there. I feel like that was actually like a reasonable exchange to lose those 4 Zealots that Jaydong was chasing to get 4 or 5 Overlords.
You know what's funny is, like, he set up Jaydong, Stork did, and he set me up too. I'm like, oh, you got to be careful. You can lose these Zealots. And then he comes in here with this great attack and blows up a bunch of Overlords. The Lurker Eggs were amazing. It basically locked him out. Jaydong's going to set up for a Lurker Contain. This has been growing in popularity. It seems like, just in general, like on ladder in ASL. It's an old style, and it went away for a while, but I think it's really good on any map where you can have a pretty good positional contain, and the third base isn't easy to access. And oh my god, great Lurker Eggs again. I mean, there's just no counterplay here for Stork.
Wow. Yeah, the Lurker Eggs. It's kind of cathartic to see Protoss have to deal with that on the ramp as well. You're like, yeah, I just can't get up there right now. It's not going to happen. But Stork right now, he is hemorrhaging Corsairs across the map. He is losing, you know, quite a few Zealots out there as well, and he's contained. So while I feel like he had a few good moves there, I'm really nervous about him trying to break out of this. It is so tough to get out of a contain like this.
Yeah, he might even want to destroy the gateway just to make more of an opening here.
For sure.
I love the Zealots in between.
Yeah.
This is so good by Stork, basically intercepting the Hydras. Having the Corsairs even come in here. Careful not to lose too many. Another Storm comes down here. That's going to wipe the Lurker and the Hydras out. I mean, he's making this look so easy, actually. I'm kind of blown away.
He's doing so much better than I thought he would. I didn't think he had enough, especially how he's walking out without killing like the gateway. I did not think he had enough to break through that, but I think the Zealots catching the reinforcements in that kind of the second lane on the map, like that was incredibly important. If those units had been able to get up there, I think Stork has no way to break out.
Jaydong's going to try to move in now, and this is going to be a very delicate move by Jaydong, because if he oversteps this, he's just going to give up any chance to contain. And in fact, he's going to pull back. He's pulling away with everything. I think he's going to have to ditch the Lurker Contain. We're going to go to the next phase of the game. A lot of Hydra Lurker games really just, the Zerg wants to, dry the Protoss up. This DT's going to get in.
Oh,
please
man.
go back, Observer. It goes into the main.
Oh, no.
That's always the big play, because a lot of times there's just no Overlord in the main in this type state of the game, and there's not in this one. And with these big mains like this, you can run the DT away and just try to hide. And while that's happening, you can move out on the map. It's really taxing for the Zerg to try to track down that DT. Looks like he does do it. It gets pinned in the corner. Stork's almost to 150 supply.
Wow.
He's in a position where the Zerg doesn't have a fourth base. He could even just try to push the natural.
I feel like, though, because Jaydong doesn't have that fourth base, wouldn't it be better if he just kind of plays it carefully? Because Jaydong, I guess he could go take a fourth, but that's going to slow the game down, and he's already kind of in a tough position. I almost feel like he's got to move out and make something happen. So if Stork were to absorb that in a way, I feel like would that not be a better play than attacking into a defensive lurker containment, or a defensive lurker setup, rather?
Well, if he has enough Dragoons, I think it's okay to attack. What I've learned recently is, and I'm a bit of a donkey when I attack Zerg. I just send everything in there and lose the game. But if you can just layer storms over time and push in with Dragoons and then go back and do it over and over again, over time you can chip away at the Zerg. Now, we have that Muta switch. This has been thematic for this season. He's going to try to come down here and snipe these Templars. And I think, honestly, Jaydong's almost being too conservative. I think he could have taken out all 4 of those Templars. There is no Dark Archon, by the way. I think the one thing that Stork could have added in here to basically, almost like an insurance to make sure he can't lose this game would be to have a Dark Archon to catch those Mutas.
I definitely agree that the Mutas are being a bit timid. True would have been in there, man. Win or lose, he would have gone after those High Templar. And he's bringing them around. Some nice storms as those Hydras try to go up the ramp. Does he get anything done with these Mutas? The Mutas really aren't doing anything. He's only lost 1, so it's not end of the world. He can still get value from them. But he's just not diving in. Okay, he dives into that third base, but Stork's army is so big, it's hard to imagine him losing that base right now. Oh my God, what a storm on the Mutas.
Oh my God. I think that this is Jaydong kind of throwing here. I think he's trying to force something to happen. And, if you don't kill those Templars, you just do not attack in here. That was a huge mistake. And we can see now, there's just so much lost here. It's like you can't attack and you almost can't defend at this point in time in the game. This
is not looking good for Jaydong right now. Stork is putting out just a great PVZ. I'm really impressed because I thought Jaydong was winning with the Lurker Contain, but Stork's breakout was magnificent. His blocking of the reinforcements, amazing. His army movement has just been top tier.
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of even, maybe slightly favored for Stork once he broke out of the contain, but the big mistake was that Jaydong, I think, and I almost can't blame Zergs for this, when you're going for a Lurker Contain and they shut it down, and by the way, Stork did one of the most easy-looking shutdowns of the Lurker Contain I've ever seen. He just had the Zealots intercept reinforcements. He had just the right amount of Dragoons, just the right number of Storms. A lot of Zergs will panic because they usually take a late 4th base with that Lurker Contain.
Yeah.
To switch into Mutas, and then I think he couldn't find the Templars, and he probably thought, oh, God, he's got the 3rd base. I just got to, I got to end this right here and right now. And so he tried. He lost the Mutas. The Storms are great. This push is going to be really strong, by the way. And when you push with Protoss, you just got to take your time. You don't want to have your Zealots just run right into all the Lurkers. You want to see, okay, how many Lurkers are there? An inch in with the Dragoons. Keep the Storms alive. And he has so many Storms right now. I think Jaydong's going to tap out. I think his main's going to get pushed.
It looks like that. Stork's army is so much stronger than Jaydong's right now. Jaydong is out of position. GG is called. Hey, Stork putting out a really high-quality Protoss for Zerg there.
That was intense. This is a glistening Stork right now. Sweating from that game. Jaydong looked good. Kind of larger decision-making got him in trouble back there. It's if you go for Mutas later after Lurkers, because, it's one thing to go for Mutas off of your Hydras. It's another thing to go for a Lurker Contain, fail, and then go Mutas. But he got those mutas, and then he couldn't find the Templars, and he attacked it anyways. He found one Templar at the third, but there were already 4 more coming up from the natural. Stork did a good job hiding that, and because of that, Jaydong is in the losers match.
Well, honestly, this gives us more exciting matches, in my opinion, than a ZVZ and Stork just pounding Skey. So I kind of like this result, to be honest, as much as I like Jaydong. Stork versus Queen, can he put out another game of that quality? I do think Queen's in a little bit better shape than Jaydong. I do have more faith in him for sure, so I don't know if Stork's going to be able to get through that brick wall.
Guys, we'll be right back.
Strangers and lovers in the highest heat of summer, talking mid-July. It was only for a weekend, it was his we weren't keeping in sunset sky. No, moving on, moving in, no. Picket fence, wouldn't rain. No, we didn't stay together, know that it was for the better. We damn sure would've ruined it. Timeless, yeah, you and I, we were priceless. Like sugar sweet Russian, could've never made it anything. Cause we never could have ever been honest. We'd never make it to August. We're here to the moment. Could have never made it anything. Cause we never could have ever been. Late nights over red wine, dancing in the daylight, golden haze. We were loving like we're dying, ever so enticing. Green-eyed gaze, could have been moving on, moving in, yeah. Picket fence, wouldn't rain. Trying not to think about it, know that I should probably cut it out. Damn sure, gonna ruin it. Timeless, yeah, you and I, we were priceless. Like sugar sweet Russian, could have never made it anything. Cause we never could have ever been honest. We'd never make it to August. We're here to the moment. Could have never made it anything. Cause we never could have ever been. What if we could've? What if we should've stayed on the beach in Barcelona? What if we made it more than a third day? What if we took it all the way up? Sometimes at late nights you're crossing my mind. Sometimes I feel like I should reach out. Would that be stupid? Would I just ruin it? Would I just ruin it? I wanna call you up, but it's never gonna be that timeless. Yeah, you and I, we were priceless. Like sugar sweet Russian, could have never made it anything. Cause we never could have ever been honest. We'd never make it to August. We're here to the moment. Could have never made it anything. Cause we never could have ever been. What if we could've? What if we should've stayed on the beach in Barcelona? What if we made it more than a third day? What if we took it all the way up? Sometimes at late nights you're crossing my mind. Sometimes I feel like I should reach out.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm super excited to see Stork playing so well. You know, I almost feel bad. I don't mean to bash on Stork. You know, we've just seen so many moments where it's like, he looks fine, but it's kind of rusty or the play style's old. That last game, classical PvZ, right? Fast expand, zealot pressure, get a lot of Corsairs, try to hit the Overlords. That was an S-class game. He looked amazing. I'm so curious how he's going to perform against Queen now.
Well, we're going into a very different map here on Metropolis. You know, having a
Right.
4-player map is obviously different in and of itself. It's got all those areas, you know, the huge main bases with a lot of places that you can drop. So I hope that this gets into kind of like a big macro game, just because I would love to see Stork try to utilize that for some harassment. But we'll see. We're going to get started here in this winter match, Stork against Queen.
Does the other side get a cheer? Was that only one cheer from one side? We've got cross spawns here. Stork versus Queen. Yeah, let's see what kind of game we're going to have here. This is a map that I, as a Protoss, I'm a little bit scared of Zergs on maps like this.
Oh?
We already saw some great cheeses.
Okay.
You know, on this with drops. It's such a big main. It's such a big natural. By the way, I think Protosses oftentimes don't have to worry about big mains or having, you know, big vacant areas behind their naturals. But this one, it's so massive that it just feels very punishable with the Zerg, if that makes sense.
There's something scary about the map and how out of the way
Yeah.
and hard to access some of these areas are. I definitely have had some phobias myself playing the map where I'm like, oh my god, there's just Reavers can be anywhere, and there's so much room for the mutas and, you know, later game drops or recalls and stuff. But the more I play it and the more I understand it, I'm actually gaining some appreciation for it. And the one thing that I've really discovered is, even though it looks kind of far away, this is one of the easiest maps to take a third base on. Like, that is a really natural choke in front of your natural, like really kind of thin choke. And then your third base is on a high ground. And with a small ramp if you don't mine out the minerals. So if you like mine out the minerals on your side and not the other side, like you have this high ground natural, third base that's super well defended, and you have this little choke point where your units can super quickly get to your third or just stand in front of your natural. So just thinking in those terms, you know, a map like Eclipse, you were talking about, oh, you know, you need to get this like giant army and move out and everything. I feel like this is a map where that's not necessarily the case. Like, Stork could get a pretty quick third here and pretty safely.
Yeah, but, you know, the issue is not even about how quick you get a third base. When Protoss is getting the third base, they're actually usually pretty comfortable. The issue is getting all their tech up and doing it safely and doing it in the right order. So, excuse me. So a third base for, sorry, a third base for Protoss, usually you do that, you've got your 8 gateways up, you're doing things. And in the sense of a lurker contain, yeah, that could be a little bit trickier to do. What I'm afraid of on this map is stuff like drops. The fact that you could be dropped in your natural and hit from behind. You could be dropped in your main and maybe not even know it in time. It could be a massive drop where they unload a ton of stuff. It could be a very sneaky, quiet drop where they just put 2 lurkers in there. There's a lot of stuff that you have to worry about. Like, most of the matchup for Protoss, minus some of the zealot pressure you can do, is really trying to figure out how to fast track yourself into a position where you have, like, Storm, you've scouted them, and you kind of know what game you're going to be in. And while you're trying to take that route to get to where you want to be, there's a lot of caltrops, build order-wise, that can be thrown out that can completely blow up what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And especially on maps with big mains and big areas behind the natural expansion.
Well, you know, maybe smart Corsair usage, some well-placed pylons, you know, applying pressure. You know, those are some of the things that at very high levels you need to utilize. Whereas, you know, if you're a lower level player, you're like, oh God, I'm going to have to put so many turrets or cannons or whatever down to block these various things that can occur. Whereas when you're going to watch players like Queen and Stork go at it, it's probably more likely that, you know, Stork is going to want to apply enough pressure that Queen can't send anything out. You know, that he's going to have to utilize his full army, that type of thing. But if he loses control of that, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways, a lot of creative ways you could deal damage here.
Nice kill on the probe. Protoss in the dark. Can't confirm the layer. The Zealot's going to come out. I like the Zealot going up to the third base. I'm not too familiar with the area behind the minerals at, you know, these third bases here. Oh, he actually backs up when he's spotted by an Overlord. So Queen, similar to Jaydong, is going for a much more traditional route, getting the layer up here. He'll probably have a Spire, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to go for Mutas. We'll know in a little bit. And these forlings, you know, if not microed perfectly, you can lose, you know, all your lings to the Zealot if they're very good at the moving shot and kind of keeping away. So it looks like he has to let that Zealot go. And Stork is basically running the same game as game one. He's getting +1 attack for the Zealots. He'll be incrementing those out one by one. He's getting air weapons. And he hasn't really seen any presence of a Hydra bust, but it is an ambiguous game from his perspective because he did lose that probe. And I don't think we have a second gas for the Zerg, so basically this is a very, very standard game. Like if you were going to teach somebody how to do a build order in the modern day for each race in this matchup, you would do what each of these guys are doing.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty clean, nice opener. The Corsair going across probably has his fingers crossed to not run into any Hydras on their way across the map. But he's going to go scout that third base pretty quickly. Honestly, as soon as you see the drone count there, you know that this is not a Hydra bust. You see another hatchery, that many drones.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, there's nothing too sneaky going on here at least.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially not seeing any Hydras on the route. Basically, that first Corsair comes out, you're looking for any Hydra. And when you see it's not, you go, okay. If you spot the Spire and it's not done, you can kill one Overlord if you're fast enough. You got to be really careful. This is risky because this Corsair could get stuck inside the base. If Scourge pop out from like this natural hatchery, he might not be able to get back home. So he's going to try to trap him here.
Yeah, we'll see if he's good at the jukes and jives, man. You can outmaneuver Scourge. It is possible, but there's like corrective micro Queen can do. But Stork gets in front of him. You can see he's got some intercepting Scourge coming up to catch him, though.
Right.
Really
he gets
well done.
one. That's really painful. He might have wanted to just sent that back home. Losing that Corsair is going to be brutal because you need a certain number, like basically 5 if you're going to go to +1 air attack. When you have to make an extra Corsair because you lost one, that's less Templar attack and everything else. The Robos later, everything.
Well, the Scourge going to fly in, and he sees that Templar attack. Some good scouting from those Scourge. Trying to catch a Corsair coming out, but the cannon going to finish just before the Corsair pops, so really well timed there from Stork. And, you know, right now Queen is just getting, like, he's up at 6 hatches. He's got a little bit of Static D in there. We haven't really seen, is he going to actually make some Mutalisks or not?
I guess there's just nothing here.
I think he's about to pop a bunch of Mutas. I think that's what we're about to see, yeah.
But, I mean, this is huge because he killed the Sunken Colony. He gets to fight the Lings. I mean, this is very much winning for Protoss right now. The drones are having to be pulled. Mutas don't kill Zealots fast.
No.
So, like, this is really painful. Now, just to point out, had he kept the that first Corsair alive, he probably would have been in a position to do even a little bit more damage here because he could have tried to fight this with his own Corsairs. But taking out these drones is great. Queen has already been thrown off.
Why did Queen have, like, nothing? Did he just think Stork was going to sit in his base or something? Like, this
I think the answer is yeah.
I've never...
I'm a little bit surprised.
You never really see this much damage dealt from a Zealot move out like that. Like, a lot of times they move out and then the Mutas pop, and then they kind of run away, and the Mutas chase them a little bit. And, you know, you've seen that 100 times. Everyone that watches StarCraft has. Normally, it's not like they run in, they kill the one Sunken, there's nothing there, and they start killing drones. And suddenly I'm looking at this,
Well-
and it's like, well, Stork's ahead.
I guess that base is actually easier to get into. There's more openings. You can't full wall off like some Zergs do, because that little part where there's like kind of a concrete road on the side by where the water is, there's not a lot. You basically can't cover that with creep. You can't block it off. But it's kind of like when you see vultures just run into a Protoss's base and you think, well, aren't you supposed to have a Dragoon to protect that? Yeah, I mean, I thought there would be at least a couple Lings. Zergs, when it comes to Zealot pressure, this is really when Zergs had to figure out, like historically, when you need to get wall-ins and how to get wall-ins and how to exploit like 1 or 2 sunken colonies or hydras behind Evos and hatcheries and all that.
Yeah.
With the 2 Archons in this is basically a timing attack meant to bust a kind of Ogre Zerg gamer, mass Muta Scourge. Like, you're going Corsairs, but I'm going to counter your Corsairs. Only one of us can win this air fight. This is when you're going to try to do a timing attack with that.
Ooh.
The Archons can actually protect the Corsairs from the Scourge.
Dude.
The Archons, it's almost like they have like little baseball gloves and they just catch the Scourge midair. Oh my God!
Well, that actually didn't go that badly for Stork. He loses
that
a
went
few,
great.
and the mutas are super, super low. Now, drones and hydras come to meet his army here, but he's basically disabled all the mutalisks, and now he's bringing in the Corsairs to go after Overlords here, while his Zealots tank all the shots. Great play from Stork.
This is insane. The Hydras, they need to snipe the Corsairs. You can see when they have chances to target it, they will. This kind of SimCity, by the way, that's worked very well for Queen, this is kind of what I thought we were going to see going into this game. But he wasn't able to really control it that well. I think it might have even been worth it to just kill the Evo chamber, because that would have created an opening and then try to spill in that way. Stork is committed to massing up Zealots, Archons, and Corsairs. And it seems like, kind of reminds me almost of the way that Bisu played the other day, but he's just going to keep trying to force this. He's going to keep trying to come down. The Hydras are coming back out on the map, and they're much weaker when they're out and they're exposed. The Corsairs, I believe, are actually in a chase on the left side of the map. Okay, here we go. We're going to see it now.
Well, those mutas probably not going to...
just wide open.
Yeah, the muta's probably not going to last too long here. The Hydras, you know, they're coming back into a choke, so they're reducing the surface area of these Zealots. On open ground, they would already all be dead. More Hydras popping, but these have to be good trades for Stork. Like, he's causing a lot of lost mining time and everything as well.
Oh, this is so winning for Stork right now, because he's going to be able to lock him out of supply. This is the fatal blow. While you're losing a lot of supply with Hydras, watch the Zerg supply in a second. He's at 94. He's going to lose one more Overlord. He's going to be locked out of making stuff. And these Zealots are not going to slow down. There's going to be plenty more that are going to be headed his way. So for the time being, he's just going to be accumulating larvae. He can't do anything to produce. He can't do anything to try to stop this. The next group, is he going to just morph this into Archons? Maybe he's got Psystorm. I'm not totally sure. I guess Psystorm would be acceptable as well if the Muta count's low enough, right? Or the Corsair count's high enough, however you want to say it.
Well, if he does have Psystorm, he's already outplaying what Bisu did the other day. So Stork right now in great position to advance first place in this group. Like, you know, the thing is, I really like Stork, and I was super rooting for him last season. I thought he'd do really well, and obviously he went out in the round of 16. But here he is against one of the people I put down as a favorite, man. Like, Queen is one of the guys I've been watching play like his old self again lately. But Stork is crushing face.
Yeah, and only just now has Queen gotten supply to where he's got, you know, oxygen to breathe. He can actually start to make again. This is kind of a funny interaction, but I guess you just don't want to lose these Corsairs. The attacks are getting a little bit sloppy, not going to lie. But I think we're almost to the tipping point. The storms are going to come down. He's got enough that he can basically be pretty loose with what he's hitting.
Yeah,
oh, man, is Queen going to barely hold this off? It's looking kind of dicey here. I feel like Stork got a little bit too spread out, maybe trying to force a win a little bit too fast here.
It does seem that way, doesn't it? Like, if he had, like, microed that a little bit better, I think he could have killed, like, 10 more drones pretty easily. But he was just kind of throwing everything down everywhere. Maybe getting a little bit too excited, a little bit too wiggly about probably winning this group.
Yeah, we've all been there, man. You know, when you're like, oh my God, I'm actually doing it. He could try to switch into a targeting of the second base. You know, he doesn't have Templars, which makes me really nervous about this attack.
Yeah.
You know, Hydras and Mutas can take a lot of pot shots and hit a lot of stuff in the meanwhile. And I don't see any Templars slowly moving across the map either. So let's see how this attack goes, but it's starting to look like Zerg just barely has enough.
Well,
Now, if
Yeah, go
Protoss
ahead.
doesn't end the game here, the game's not over. I mean, Stork's got a third base, he's healthy. In fact, Queen needs a fourth base. But, you know, Queen is the kind of guy that even if he's not in a great spot, he can probably do okay.
I think, like, looking at this, Stork's just still ahead pretty much in every way. Oh, wow. That was actually a great juke there from Queen. Stork tried to catch where he thought the Mutas would go there for a snipe. Those Mutas are very low. Stork pulling back. Yeah, like, I think if Stork just kind of pulls back a bit defensively, make sure, like, he's already got 3 High Templars or 2 High Templars up here with these cannons, so it's looking pretty good. Pulls back into his choke. I can't see these Hydras busting him as long as he has a couple Storms.
Okay, he's going to move in now. I see 2 Templars. They don't quite have enough energy. There might be
Oh,
enough
no.
bulk here to kind of buy time.
Dude.
There's another one coming up.
He needs to back up a little bit here. I'm really nervous. He's like too far forward, giving better surface area to his opponent. Okay, he backs up slightly, brings those High Templars forward once again, but Queen gets some snipes. Oh my god, is Queen going to wiggle his way to a victory here?
I feel like the Storms have just been poor enough. I mean, there's 1 cannon here, by the way. I didn't even realize until we got the shot of the second base. Queen has kind of shut Stork out of that position over there. There's 1 Templar, but there's not enough energy. I think all these cannons would be killed off before the Storm would even be available.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
This is a
Does he have
big
lurker eggs?
throw.
Can he block the ramp even?
Dude, he was
Well-
so far ahead. What is happening?
He shouldn't have pushed without Templars. All you need to do is have, especially when you have the Corsair advantage, is just slow push him. It seems like he got kind of discombobulated, right? He had like some stuff over here, other stuff over there. Stork taps out.
God.
Queen, through sheer will, fights back and just somehow manages to win that.
That's
and that was
crazy.
all micro. That was all. There was like maybe 10, 12 moments back there when Stork was pushing where Stork overextended. His Storms are kind of sloppy. He had Zealots disconnected from the Archons.
Yeah.
Archons disconnected from the Corsairs. Corsairs at times just getting shot by Hydras. And I think that Stork, he had a push, and I think anybody who's dealt with pushing, you know, whether it's a PVZ, a TVZ, there's these periods where you're like, oh my god, I think I've got it, and you kind of 1A, 2A, 3A into everything instead of taking it one more step at a time. You know, let's take one favorable trade. Go back macro, inch in, hold position, storm. Go back macro. I think he kind of tried to force the win, and that was actually what forced him to lose that game. And this is the moment I was thinking of.
Yes, and I'm not surprised that they brought up this exact moment because, like, his army's really good, but he's just like single filing it in. You see, like, the Hydras down at the bottom, just picking off some units. The Storms are messy. He gets 1 Storm on the drones. It's not even a good Storm. Like, he could have gotten way more drones with that. It's too bad because, like, at this point, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's fine. He's going to win anyways. And Queen, you know, took this 1 mistake from Stork and came back. How unforgiving.
Well, you know, this second push was also, I think, the real nail in the coffin. He had a bad attack, and then he decided he's going to attack out. Now, we all know, what do you need to beat Zerg? You need Storm. You need everything else Protoss has, but really you need Storm most of all. If there were 2 Templars in this army, it would have been different, but he kind of threw away the Corsairs, and it seems like he just wanted to try to force this to be over. And instead, you got Zealots, Archons, Dragoons. They're all great, but you need that core unit that lets you actually win fights. And here is where he sniped the Templars. Oh my gosh. Even forcing them to burn the Storms is so good, because then you realize you can just send your Hydras across the map and basically just stutter step micro versus everything Protoss has.
Yeah, and Stork here actually took the fight in the wrong spot. Like, he was a little bit too far forward. You can see his Dragoons in the front, so he's going to lose some of those before the Zealots really get up there. And it's actually better surface area for Zerg, which is exactly what you don't want. You need to just take a couple steps back, which he eventually does. But he really needed, like, 2 more Storms here.
Yeah. You know, he didn't have the best storms. Just looking at where he clicked.
Yeah.
Like, you want to really... It's okay to click on the Hydra. If you storm enough, you kind of get used to finding that juicy spot and hitting it. And even if they're going to run out of it while they're taking damage, that's usually enough. I think had Stork held here, the game would have gone on, and, you know, maybe Stork wins later on. But the fact that he basically drained all the storms and then was able to dive on this third base, that was so bad.
That's a tough loss for Stork. He's going to be regretting that one if he doesn't make it out. Let's go to an interview here with Queen.
You're watching Group E of the round of 24 of ASL Season 19 as we have our first player through to the round of 16 today. Let's talk to Queen. Congratulations. Thank you. Just like you said in the pre-game interview, you are this season's first Zerg survivor. Congratulations once more. I didn't think I would be the first one. I'm feeling good and I'm proud of myself. The performance you showed today signals to many you might be ready to cause some trouble this season. It was smooth, a smooth execution, and in the last game you even managed to stage a comeback. What do you think of your own performance today? It was a good comeback in that last game, but it shouldn't have ended up in that situation in the first place. I got shaken in the early game and that cost me some points. Stork hit you with a very accurate timing with 5 speed zealots with +1 attack. You took damage already and then lost most of your overlords, which made me think, this will be tough for you. But you battened down the hatches at the 3 o'clock and you saw the opportunity for one timing, the Hydralisk attack. How did you pass that judgment? It's not the kind of build to be shaken by in the early game, so I was reproaching myself for playing so poorly. I decided at that point to try and go for an attack with upgraded Hydras. I think it was crucial that I endured with this mindset. You held on perfectly at the 3 o'clock when the Templar came in. I think it was your sensing of a coming crisis that helped you endure there. My opponent played really well, so I was all over the place during the match. But my hands just moved on their own as I evaded Storm. It just happened to get defended. I think it's because of that I got the opportunity for one attack. You returned to the group selection after a while for the first time in 4 seasons, and now that you're once again waiting to play in the round of 16, it must be an even bigger source of motivation. You know, Sulky has won 3 times in a row, and before that, it was me who won twice in a row. I used to be the best. This time, with a mindset of a challenger, I want to aim for my 3rd win. 3 championships? You going to topple the name of Sulky? I gotta, right? Makes me think this motivation that Queen is bringing to the table should make for an interesting season. The support for you was passionate. Do you have any words of thanks for the fans now that you had this good performance? I've constantly been in a slump and haven't been able to have a good showing in the ASL. I want to thank the fans for cheering for me still. I'll try and do well this season as well. Can't wait to see your journey this season, Queen. Congratulations on the victory. Thank you. And there you have your Zerg Survivor Queen, the first player making it into the round of 16 today. We'll take a short break and come back for the losers and decider matches.
You hit me with the H-E-Y, I'ma hit you with the boy bye. You told me that I'm too closed off, but you know that I'm not involved with playboys. I don't wanna be your play toy. I can't let you flip through my pages and than a centerfold. You hit me with the what you doing. I'ma hit you with the nothing much. As if it's any of your business. What I'm even doing up. You told me that you wanna come through, but I told you that you're not in love. Cause I don't really got the time for someone who don't give a.
I know because I'm hot, you think I don't have a brain. But newsflash, not only am I sexy and out of your league, I have an IQ of like 140.
Playboys, I don't wanna be your play toy. I can't let you flip through my pages and hold me close like those playboys. I don't wanna be your play toy. Don't you know that I'm so much more than a centerfold? Playboys, I don't wanna be your play toy. I can't let you flip through my pages and hold me close.
Welcome back, everybody. Time to eliminate somebody. This one, honestly, looking at how they both played, I think it's a tough one to call. If I hadn't seen these guys in any games yet today, I'd say Jaydong, easily going to advance here. I think he had, honestly, a pretty poor performance against Stork. He had not really in the control. I never really worry about Jaydong's control or when to take fights, but big strategy decisions to attack in without having killed the Templars just seemed to be kind of a bad day of games. And Skey, he did look pretty good until things unraveled later on in that game. I thought the early game he was fine. Usually when you get new players, the mistakes they make are in the first couple minutes, right? Builder errors, doubling up on buildings, proxy getting the wrong main because you didn't check the minerals, stuff like that.
Well, we're going to go into Polestar here. Who will be our first eliminated, Jaydong or Skey? We're about to see.
Okay, both players sharing the right side of the map here. Jaydong in the top and Skey in the bottom.
You know, I'm kind of torn here because so I actually think in this matchup, if they were to play on the ladder, I would actually give advantage Skey. Like if it was just a game that didn't matter that much and they were just going against each other in a practice game on the ladder, Skey actually has really good SK Terran. He's very good. He's pretty cutting edge as far as the metagame goes and the different ways to try to crack a Zerg open. You know, we're always Terrans having to kind of figure out some new ways as Zerg defense gets better. And I really like his Terran vs Zerg. I think it's very, very strong. Now, the reason why Jaydong specifically, like, I haven't been a Jaydong believer yet. Like, I'm a Bisu believer. I'm actually generally a Stork believer. Yeah. But I haven't been as much of a Jaydong believer because I don't feel like he has steady Zerg versus Terran. I think that if you put Jaydong up against technical builds, he does really well. But if you muscle him with Marine Medic, I just feel like he's not the level you need to be. You know, where you have... well, I mean, Sulky is the ultimate with it, but it's like... I'm not ever worried that Sulky is going to get his third busted. With Jaydong, I'm like, he's going to get his third busted. I feel like it. You know what I mean? I've just seen it a lot of times, and that's kind of been the disappointment with Jaydong's play.
Well, I think Terrans are so good at this mid-game and kind of moving out and knowing when they can crack you and when they should back off. And a lot of Zergs, I mean, they just, when they get to a certain level against certain Terrans, it's a really hard game, the mid-game. You know, the Terrans are great at defending, and the Zergs, it can be tricky. If they... Zerg, especially in ZVT, they have to defend with very, very little working pieces as compared to, like, ZVP, where they get quite a bit, you know? Like, sometimes you need, okay, we can only have 2 lurkers to hold this one spot. We just have enough mutas. If we overextend 2 or 3 times with our mutas, we're going to have such few mutas that we can't even fight in the middle of the map. So, yeah, he's got to be careful. By the way, it seems like over the past several seasons, people have gotten so good at moving shot that scouting patterns have like completely changed, or like how close you're allowed to even be to workers when it's drones or probes as Terran.
Yes, this happens all the time, like ladder tournament games
Yeah, like
everywhere. This is happening so much right now. When this first started popping up, when like Mini was the one guy like really starting to do it, I remember talking about it with you and being like, dude, if something breaks StarCraft, this might be it. Like SCVs don't have counterplay here. You can't really do it with the SCVs. If you see an SCV do 2 moving shots in a row, that's God tier micro, like literally God tier. Because did you know that SCVs have the like lowest range in the game and they're not melee? Well, actually,
yes,
broodlings and infested Terrans both technically have lower range, but those are not really units. You know what I mean?
Right.
Those
well,
are like
they're not
UMS
used,
units.
so they're irrelevant, right?
Yeah.
That's trivia, not like a useful insight into the game.
But they just, their range is so short, you don't have much counterplay there. You just kind of get chased down.
Yeah, no, I've even experienced it as Protoss versus Zerg, like the drone moving shot.
Yeah.
You like get too close to the workers, and then oh, looks like these lings are gonna get in here. This is a pretty nice move by Jaydong. He can come inside now and see, what exactly Terran's doing and see if there's any surprise tech, which there's not, but it's always good to know. He'll see the Academy coming in down here.
Yeah, and that's actually a great scout for 2 lings to just kind of see. It's like, oh, okay, that's, just an Academy rush, nothing too crazy going on. He's sitting behind a wall, so he'll be able to put some pressure on. I think, in my opinion, as Jaydong here, you just throw your 3rd hatch in your main base. I don't know what his initial plan was, but this build from Skey is normally done to punish a 3rd base out on the map. So as long as Jaydong doesn't have that, he's good against the build. It's not like he's ahead or behind.
Some lings are going to come in here to just check. And for now, it's going to be that 2-hatch Muta style. We got to kind of wait and see. A lot of this is going to come down to movement on the map and execution, how good the control is.
Yeah, gets his E-base started just on time here, continuing to move around with the Marines and medics. So, yeah, the 2 lings run by. It's, this is going to be slightly annoying, but not that bad. And he's already forced 2 Sunkens with the Marine move out. So, like, this is what you end up doing with this build overall. Just going to run away, and it's time to get turrets. It's just forced normal opening. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. Yeah, I mean, 2 forced sunks is 2 less drones, and Zerg is on a very small amount of workers here when they're doing an opening like this. It's important to remember, and like we say it all the time, but there's always new people that tune in. It's because it's a weird concept. You have to appreciate that every time you make a drone, you're losing a worker, and you can't just remake workers the whole time. Like Terran and Protoss, because everything comes from the larva. So if you're making a worker, you're not making a muta. If you're making a muta, you're not making a worker. So that's this weird way that players control Zergs, is forcing them to make defensive structures.
Yeah, it's such a unique thing about Zerg. it dictates everything about the game. I can't believe that this game is balanced well enough to have all 3 races able to win when Zerg operates in such a weird way. That was great micro from Jaydong, by the way. He picked off a lot of Marines there.
Yeah,
I was like talking over it because I'm like, nothing much will happen here. But he's like, no, I just massacred a bunch of Marines. That was great.
It is incredible because Terran and Protoss do operate very similarly as far as their production, basically, where workers come from one building and their other stuff comes from other buildings. But Zerg, yeah, it's crazy the game balanced out like that. Is this turret going to burn down? It does. It explodes.
Yeah.
This is going to make this whole position around the barracks a lot more flimsy. You need to have 1 to 2 turrets here. Otherwise, the mutas can start taking pot shots at the Marines. Jaydong decides to instead go back here with his mutas. He might try to look for damage elsewhere. He's also taking the other natural in the top left.
He's going to continue to harass here at the natural a little bit. These naturals can be a little bit tough to block muta harass on. That one's not too bad because you can fit 3 right in the middle like that. I actually haven't seen someone do that turret placement yet on that spot, but that's a really, really good one for anti-muta. So it feels like, I mentioned before, I'm like, oh, I always feel like he's getting his 3rd bust. I don't feel like that this game. I think he's already done a good job reducing Marines, kind of keeping Skey back. And Skey is definitely playing just a little bit shaky. His Marine movement is not really that perfect yet. So this feels like a nice game that could actually really develop into like a hive game against, you know, mass vessels and stuff.
Yeah, Skey is just out on the map for the time being. Going to come in here and try to hit these 2 turrets again. It does seem like this is a hard spot for the Marines to get through to. This is unique about Brood War pathing, is that if you run a group of units through a very narrow area, they won't all line up. Sometimes one unit will get through, and the unit behind it will kind of ping-pong off of it and then reroute around. And that's where you end up with these funny log jams where units can't quite get to where they need to be. And so that's when a lot of extra damage comes out. Now, at this point in time, the Marines are out on the map. I don't know if he scanned that base or not. I didn't see. But if Terran wants to take that base, he can. And this is what we were kind of alluding to earlier, in that Jaydong, he can be a little bit flimsy in the mid-game. And this is exactly that. Now, he's going to counterattack here with these mutas, and this game's getting kind of base trade-ish.
Yeah. So, like, if you're going to lose your third, you have to counterattack. And he's doing that very well. He's killed all the turrets there. There's no splash damage to deal with the mutas as of yet, so he can definitely get some good damage. I can't believe right after I took back, because I was literally saying, I'm like, he always loses his third, it feels like. And then I'm like, actually, he's done a good job. I don't think he will this game. And his third just popped right now. But the counterplay, is it going to be enough?
I mean, he's doing a pretty good job here. He's now taking advantage of the Sim City and the base and kind of making these Marines go down these narrow areas where they're getting isolated from each other. That's so great with the muted glaives.
Wow.
He's literally going to kill off all these Marines. He can start to just go ham in the main here. I don't know if turrets have been remade at the natural, but he could even try to rotate up to there if he wanted to.
Dude, that was a lot of damage. He got a ton of SCVs and a ton of Marines. I do think there's a Valkyrie about to pop. I'm almost surprised he left that area, but he has some Scourge coming down. He has additional Mutalisks. Yeah, and there's no turrets at the natural.
Yeah, we didn't know until we saw this shot up here. And, I mean, the SCV count's getting very frighteningly low. We saw that there was a hive coming. I don't know if you want to go for Guardians here. You know, we were talking about the Valkyrie a second ago. He takes out every SCV literally here, forcing that to cancel. He's got Scourge, so this is almost akin to a PvZ where you see the Scourge just try to gun down the Corsair. Same thing with the Valkyrie. I mean, you take that out. And by the way, the Valkyrie's a clunky unit. If we had, like, steering ranking on here, like these were Twisted Metal cars, this would have been the ice cream truck in Twisted Metal, man. The Valkyrie's just hard to move around.
It is, yeah.
So he's going for a Defiler mount. I thought it might be Guardians, but it's not. It's going to be Lurker play. Again, I don't even know if there are turrets back in the main, by the way.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know that there
are. He could just as
are.
well go in the main here.
He doesn't have money really to afford anything. Look at this. The Muta's coming back, going to get more SCVs. There's a bunch of Lurkers on the map, too, now. And, like, Vessels are not really an option. His economy is dead. Jaydong is really, really far ahead here.
Okay, well, this position is impregnable right now. The Valkyrie's going to come out here, kind of bait some shots out. He burrows the 3 Lurkers here. Oh, my God, this depot is in such a weird spot. It makes a bottleneck where all the Marines eat all the shots. And it's wow, Skey just taps out.
Yeah.
The pressure really got to him.
Dude, I gotta tell you what, Tasteless. Like, that was domination. You can see Skey is not too happy with himself. He did not play anywhere near his level here tonight. And this happens to basically everyone the first time that they're in a Star League. You know, that's why the Royal Road is such a prestigious thing to have won the Royal Road. Of course, winning the first Star League that you enter. Because it's happened, like, 5 times in the history of StarCraft or something like that. It just, you see what happens. On the ladder, I would put money on Skey over Jaydong. Here, absolutely dismantled. Not even close. It's just night and day playing live or playing at your PC at home.
And he got the big win in the mid game. He took that base out, but he wasn't able to kind of handle the pressure of the mutas coming in there. So much damage occurred. So Skey is going to be knocked out, and this means that we're going to have a rematch, actually. It's going to be Jaydong versus Stork. To see who's going to advance here. I almost thought it was Queen because of how well Stork
Yeah,
played. I'm like, oh no,
yeah.
the same thing kind of happened in that last game where one guy was winning, but the other guy fought back really hard. Guys, we're going to go to that match after this short break.
Love of my life, cliche, but there's no other way to say. Heart rates to 100,048. Okay, this may be a little exaggerated, but it helps the emotion I'm gonna betray. Yeah, my brain doesn't know what to do with just what to say. Oh, you won't look at you, leaving me feeling jaded. Every nerve in my body you stimulate. Yeah. Ooh, how do I tell you what I'm thinking? Ooh, the part within me slowly shrinking. Ooh, feel sure words are always lingering. I don't want to say you're the love of my life, cliche, but there's no other way to say love of my life, cliche, but there's no other way to say hello. You're so pretty, you're giving me vertigo. You're like the sun in the sky, every day you glow. And what's your secret, oh baby, I wanna know. I wanna know if you're feeling the same. I wanna know if you're in the game. I wanna know, do you want this or no? Ooh, how do I tell you what I'm thinking? Ooh, the part within me slowly shrinking. Love of my life, cliche, but there's no other way to say love of my
Do-si-do, gather round. Me and my squad gon' run this town. Crank this up, that's my sound. Turn this whole club upside down. 1 foot out, 1 foot in. Wiggle your shoulders and do a little spin. All night long with all my friends. Tomorrow we gon' do it all over again. What's shaking? Show no. Just got paid, mama, what's up? I'm too blessed, no love. I'm way up, I'm stuck. Feeling good tonight. I came out with the hood tonight. Which one of y'all boys would tonight? Might just do a little jug tonight. Tryna get back like ABC. Count digits like 1, 2, 3s. Want the benefits, just say please. Wanna talk to the boss, you can send them straight up to me. I'm tapped in, they watching. I'm in here, they not in. Which crib, babe? I got options. Got a brand new dance for you locked in. Tell them what's up. Go gather around. Me and my squad gon' run this town. Crank this up, that's my sound. Turn this whole club upside down. 1 foot out, 1 foot in. Wiggle your shoulders and do a little spin. All night long with all my friends. Tomorrow we gon' do it all over again. Like do-si-do, gather around. Me and my squad gon' run this town. Crank this up, that's my sound. Turn this whole club upside down. 1 foot out, 1 foot in. Wiggle your shoulders and do a little spin. All night long with all my friends. Tomorrow we gon' do it all over again. Do-si-do. Do-si-do. Tomorrow we gon' do it all over again. Do-si-do. squad gon' run this town. Crank this up, that's my sound. Turn this whole club upside down. 1 foot out, 1 foot in. Wiggle your shoulders and do a little spin. All night long with all my friends. Tomorrow we gon' do it all over again.
Thank you for waiting, everybody. We're going into this final match. It's going to be bittersweet because, you know, these are the players. If you're, you know, an old StarCraft fan like us, we grew up on these guys. It's always special to have either Stork or Jaydong deeper and deeper into an ASL. But it can only be one, Artosis.
Indeed, indeed. We're going to Deja Vu. You've mentioned that you really don't like playing this map because of the possibility of lurker contains on that high ground. Jaydong did get a lurker contain off in the previous game. If that had been on high ground, Stork would not have broken it as easily. What can Stork do in this game to prevent something like that occurring?
I mean, there's not a lot you can do to prevent a lurker contain. You can try to kind of, I guess, play the way the Stork in the previous game, have Zealots active on the map, make it harder to set that up, but we'll see if Jaydong goes for that. You know, there's a lot of different ways to approach this, but yeah, lurker contain, definitely rough on this map. Anyways, guys, this is the final game for Group E, where we decide which player moves on, which player is knocked out of the ASL. Okay, Jaydong in the top left, Stork in the bottom left. Final plug of the day, guys. We need your support. Sign up for the Patreon. It is how we are keeping the history of StarCraft alive in English. You also get access to the secret Tastosis podcast, where we kind of banter for a short period of time before every episode that we record here. So consider doing it. Never die. Just like the sign, StarCraft never die, guys. Keep supporting us.
Yeah, never dies StarCraft. Part of the Jaydong's clan. Thank you, everyone, very much. It was a great podcast today. Really, check that one out. Okay, so we got some Jaydong T-shirts. I like it. Okay, still got that fame. Everyone loves Jaydong. Of course, Stork
he does have this kind of superstar energy to him. I mean, they're both, you know, very on par with each other as far as legendary status, but Jaydong's always had this kind of cult-like following.
What was always really funny is, like, in the old days, OSL, MSL Pro League, and stuff like that, the fans that showed up, like, were heavily women that would show up, kind of, you know, like they were the StarCraft players, like, you know, K-pop stars or something like that. But, like, a lot of my Korean friends always told me how funny they thought it was, because most of Stork's fans were the men that showed up.
That's true. When you go to an event and you see the Stork audience, it's like guys that are fans of build orders and good StarCraft.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in the early days, a lot of the fans that showed up for the live matches were actually female. And this is even true in my experience the few years I casted Valorant in Korea. Lots of, whenever there's a new game and it's hot, it's almost 70% women showing up. That's usually how you can tell that something's gotten really trendy and really popular, is when a bunch of young girls show up. But even to this day, Jaydong still has such a huge following.
Yeah, it's
and that's reflected in his
interesting
stream
thing.
numbers. His stream is massive.
Oh, of course.
In this game, by the way, this is something that has been kind of an interesting development in the matchup. See how the Forge is further back? This is the new wall-in to do in positions, you know, that go left to right or right to left. Is you put the Forge further back and you stick the gateway way out, basically willingly throwing it away. It's a very interesting approach. And the idea behind this is that, you know, what are the few things that you can really trip a Protoss up on early, if they're like S tier, if they're like basically perfect players? A lot of times you can snipe the Forge. So this wall-in is set up to protect the Forge, because the Forge is tucked back. And as long as you have a healthy amount of cannons, the Forge can never be touched. And You might say, well, doesn't the gateway, more easily go down? Yes, but the gateway is such a big building, it will basically always go down.
Dude, Jaydong's going mass Ling right now. He has a lot of Zerglings right now.
Well, hold on. He only has... Well, he's going to hide these. Yeah, you might be right.
He has
needs
a
to make a
lot.
few more before we know for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
more
he
are
is.
coming.
He's made 2 more. Okay.
That's a
my God,
crazy
he's gonna
amount of
choose them out.
Zerglings, and he's hidden all of them. Oh my God! Like
Well,
Stork has only
he
seen
might just
4
win here.
Zerglings right now. If he gets on top of that cannon, oh, dude, look at Stork's face. He's like, "Wow, you're so good. That's amazing."
I guess you're a better player than
Yeah.
me.
Oh wow, you made the Zerglings, and I didn't see him because I lost my probe. I guess I'll be eliminated, and you go on to the round of 16, Jaydong. That's so sick.
No, I'll pack my bags. You go have fun. I hope
Yeah.
you win it. It's too bad I couldn't have won it, but I can only make one squishy building to defend this.
Yeah, enjoy your prize money. Yeah. Hey, remember that game where I broke out of the lurker contain? Which one do you think took more skill? Breaking out of the lurker contain or making those slow Zerglings and running them around my probe?
Well, this is so funny.
It's only funny because
here's
it's
the thing.
100% true. Like, I love Jaydong, but I'm
no,
watching
it's
this and I'm like,
completely true. It's like
there's nothing to this, Tasteless. Like,
I
I
guess your
can make
Overlord
those
can see more
Zerglings and
than
run them
my,
around, you know? Like, this is not... If he didn't know it was me and he thought it was Stork, I thought it was Jaydong, I could also do that, Tasteless. That's just like... Oh, my God.
He's going to get the Ling speed here. The gateway hasn't been remade. Oh, my God, it barely gets up, but the Lings get in anyways. He's going to go into the main.
Now, hold on.
Now,
can he come back from this? Is it possible? Or did he lose too much?
It's very hard to say. The math is always fuzzy in games like this. If he can keep these Lings alive in the main, which I think if anybody could, Jaydong would be able to do that, it's going to be a very, very, very difficult game for Stork to play with. He's going to run in, and this is the problem. When you don't have the gateway up, the Lings can just come in here and kill the cannon. You basically play, keep away from the Protoss. Now, he's still got 2 Lings alive. There's more Lings coming down. Ling speed is inbound here. It just finished. So this is so hard. Basically, when the probes try to fight the Lings, you run away. The Zealot has to stay down here and protect the cannon that's warping in. But there's not enough to plug this up, and he just sends the 2 Lings around. He's going to try to kill the cannon, because as long as there's no cannon, the Lings have free mobility. I think this is where Stork taps out. GG. Well,
is it
Tastosis,
a rule that you
have?
have to type GG in ASL?
I don't know. No, there definitely is not a rule.
I would risk a lifetime
That's a
ban,
face of an
Tasteless.
angry gamer. That's like...
That's, wow. No, well, I mean, that's like, you look at the game he won against Jaydong and the game he lost against Jaydong, and you weight those against each other, and it's like, okay, well, very different games. And that has to be frustrating for Stork. You practice so hard, and you misclick a probe one time, and that's literally the game.
Well, hold on a second. When did he scout? Because you're supposed to be counting all the Lings as they come out of the hatchery.
Yeah, it's just he
there is
lost
a
the
fix
probe,
for it.
right? So...
Okay, so yeah, you can't lose the probe. That's the story. And then the second probe running around. Yeah, rough.
Well, that was a decisive
Never lose your
win.
first scouting probe.
Yeah, decisive win from Jaydong. You do have to hand it to him. As much as I joke about it, like he's the one that decided to risk the tournament on doing this suddenly, and he barely kept those out of vision.
Oh, he actually didn't.
You know what? When I go back and look at a replay like this, and then I see that I could have seen it if I was a little bit better, that hurts more than the loss.
Yeah, you're like, oh, there is a way to actually know. So, in case you're wondering, well, how would you stop this? It seems like there's nothing here. You would have had 3 probes to basically block the pylon forge. 1 probe to block the pylon forge, 2 to block the gateway, and then you would have sent more workers. But because it looked like it was 4 Zerglings, you would never want to have workers not mining. Now, it was a slow Ling rush. This is an extremely unusual timing, which is why you almost see Stork live through this. Like, slow Lings are so much worse than fast Lings. But again, the timing is so unusual. And I think this was the right call to go for the gateway and not to try to run in. And you basically wait. Probes are very kind of clunky units when controlled in control groups. So he basically takes his fights very, very wisely. Right when it's not favorable for him, he pulls away, kills off a couple more workers.
Yeah, it was actually very good
Honestly,
control.
Stork was actually at 11 probes to 9 drones here, just for some perspective. So, like, he was still fighting back for a little bit, but when the gateway goes down, not only can you not make zealots, but you can't make a core, so you can't tech. Like, everything's just terrible.
Well, that was rough. Let's go to an interview
you like
here
that play.
with Jaydong.
And that does it for Group E of the round of 24 of ASL Season 19. Let's meet our second place finisher. Moving on to the round of 16, it's Jaydong. Congratulations. Thank you. You add another Zerg to the roster of Zerg survivors of the back of a great performance. How do you feel making it into the round of 16 for 2 seasons in a row? It's not easy, wow. I had to go through the decider match. It was like playing on a thin sheet of ice. The mind games you showed on this thin sheet of ice with nerves of steel. Jaydong, Jaydong, there is only one, people shouted. In the last match, the match against Stork, with unupgraded Zerglings, when Stork let his guard down by building just one cannon, you went for a mind game. You must have realized on the spot, you gotta keep going like that. How did you think of that? It's just... Stork played greedy in the previous game. For some reason I thought, as long as I catch the probe ASAP, this will surely work. I really put my soul into catching that probe. I'm glad I caught it, and so it worked. Regrettably, losing the first game against Stork, your facial expression, you weren't too happy. You managed to take care of Zealots in the early game, and then lost this match from a favorable position. You didn't seem content. You must have looked back at that game as soon as it was over. What do you think went wrong? It's just how best of ones are. My performance is shaky, inconsistent. That's just what that game was. I didn't play well, and I lost. Luckily, from the round of 16 onwards, it's extended series. And on top of that, my win rate in the opening set is not good. That goes for extended series too. And this is what makes me weak in best of one. I'll try and show a better performance in the round of 16. Regardless of having a poor win rate in the opening set, you claim victory in the decider match. And many people will be keeping a close eye on your journey. Truly, a lot of fans showed up to the studio today. They were just as happy as you were to see you win. Do you have any words for the fans? I'm truly grateful, and I'm truly glad I advanced. This time I'll try and get past the round of 16. I'll do my best to get to the round of 8 and play an extended series there. Once more, congratulations on making it to the round of 16. See you at the group selection ceremony. Congratulations. Can I add one more thing? Sure. This time, I practiced a lot with YSC, so I wanted to thank him. Yeah, wouldn't do to forget to mention that. Yeah, I hope he manages to advance. And I practiced ZVZ with BTS, so thank you too. Also, big thanks to the fans and to all the people close to me for their support. I'll do my best this season. Can't wait to see you perform. Thanks for the interview. Showered with congratulations, Jaydong succeeds in advancing to the round of 16, and this does it for our interview with today's second place finisher.
What a bunch of great games.
Yeah.
Similar to some of the other days we had, it's like the players that won, you expect them to get out, but interesting stories inside of those games for sure.
True. I definitely thought Queen and Jaydong would make it. After that first game, though, with Stork, Like, it really felt like he was going to be able to make it through. I feel really bad for him that he ended up falling in the manner he did. He had that game against Queen 1 as well. But the Zergs are rallying back, and I think they will continue to do so. I actually think we're going to have like a perfect round of 16 because, you know, there's definitely some upsets that could occur in the next group. But Action and Hero, right? It's Action, Hero, Sock, and Tolbo, I believe, is the next group. And that's like, definitely our Zerg players are favored there as well.
You know, we just might not have that many Zergs. We'll see. There could be upsets still to come. But if the Zergs do get through, then we've got 5. Let's see how Socket and Tulbo do. I mean, Tulbo, I don't think we expect to get deep into this, but, you know, we always have a couple upsets.
Yeah.
Socket is a good player. Hero in Action, though, I think very solid Zergs. These are guys that very often are in top 4 of ASL.
Yeah, Action's in top 8 like every season, and Hero's in top 4 like every season. Very close to both those. Sock is actually a pretty good matchup against Action. That's a very, very solid matchup between those two. Just stylistically, like, I think Action is a bit better than Sock, but Sock is underrated, and his style in general does pretty well against someone like Action, I think. So that's going to be a really fun match. I think that's the most interesting match in that group.
Yeah. And, of course, when we finish that group, guys, there is a week off of games. So please take note of that. We should probably mention that in an actual game, by the way. Yeah. Next, tomorrow when we record this, because a lot of people just turn the video off after the games are done. But there will be no round of 16 games next week. There will be the group matches, or the group drawings, excuse me, which we will get translated for you guys, but that takes a couple days. We can't get that out like the very following day. It's a lot of work for Ziggy. But yeah, after that week off of matches, we go right into the round of 16, and then it's week after week after week until we get to the finals.
That's right. It's so exciting as it's heating up here, and I do think tomorrow's going to be like a great group, and if we get those 2 Zergs out, that's perfect balance again for the next round. So that would be awesome to see. And yeah, I don't know. Any closing thoughts there, Tastosis?
No, another great day of games. We're going to have the next recording up for you guys tomorrow, so you will see it soon. We love you. Check out that Patreon, and yeah, bye-bye.